Friends, this is a review and a refresher of the Sun Salutation practice that we did last night for our Men's Yoga 101 series at Yoga on the Brazos. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start with an integration in the breath work that we did last night, and then we're just going to work through those Sun Salutations. We'll have a brief period of grounding at the end of the practice, and then we'll close things out. So if you'll remember where we started last night, from a tabletop position, I guided you into puppy dog pose. So I'll give you two options, but let's start there. So from a tabletop shape, walk your hands about 3 handprints forward. Turn your fingers out to the outside, go nice and wide. Option to place a block under your heart. And then lower your heart and your head down to the mat. Right, and if your head doesn't easily and naturally come down to the mat, you can place a block under your head. I find this block under my heart is a nice support. Now, another option here is child's pose, right? So if you wanted more sensation, take your knees out nice and wide, bring your big toes together to touch, press the shoelace parts of your feet down into the earth, and then start pressing your seat back towards your heels. But whichever shape, from child's pose or puppy pose, just relax your heart down to the earth. Start to lengthen out your breath, both your inhale and your exhale. And I'm going to cue for that Ujjayi breath, the victorious breath that we did in our class last night. So draw in a nice deep inhale, hold it at the top. And then as you exhale, exhale through your nose with the same quality as if you're fogging up a mirror with your breath. And then with that same constriction at the back of your throat, inhale. And maintain this breath throughout the practice today. So if you're present to it, this Ujjayi breath, as I mentioned last night, will lend an audible quality like an ocean wave to your breath. But it also adds some texture and a bit of viscosity to the breath. Right, on your next inhale, from either your puppy dog or child's pose, on an inhale, rock up into a tabletop shape. Float your shoulders over your wrists, your hips over your knees. And then we're going to articulate some movement of the spine with a cat rolling sequence. This sequence is made up of 2 poses, cow pose. So on an inhale breath, drop your belly down to the earth, open your heart up to the front edge of your mat, turn the eyes of your elbows forward. Exhale, press into your hands, press into your shins, and round through your shoulder blades. Inhale, drop your belly, maybe tuck your toes. Muscular engagement here, if you remember, feels like trying to touch your knees with the heels of your hands. Exhale, puff that little space between your shoulder blades high up toward the stars. Now move through 3 more of these to the cadence of your own breath. And then finish up working through all 5 iterations of this. And then when you're done, come back to a neutral spine position. On your next inhale, tuck your toes up under your feet. Exhale, press up into a downward facing dog. Right, so if you'll remember, what I cued for here first was movement to warm up your lower body. So the examples I gave, you can kind of windshield wiper your feet, dropping in 1 knee at a time and extending the opposite hip down. You might choose to sway your hips back and forth. Sometimes I take the webbing between the big toe and second toe of 1 foot, and I use that to press the Achilles heel of the second foot down. But after you've had a few minutes to warm the upper body, Relax the heels down to the earth. A bend in the knees is fine, gentlemen. If you have tight hamstrings and lower back, you should have a bend in your knees. Index fingers are at 12 o'clock. That top row of knuckles where your fingers meet your hands, press that firmly down, especially index knuckle. Now, drag your elbows an inch closer to your mat. Tweeze them together like you were squeezing a beach ball. Feel for sensation and warmth under your armpits. This is serratus anterior that you're feeling here. Maintain length of your neck. So we don't want it cranked looking forward. I also would prefer it not be aggressively tucked in towards your chest, someplace right in the middle. From here, on an inhale, bend your knees. Look forward. Exhale, walk or step to the top edge of your mat. Feet hip distance apart. Ragdoll Uttanasana. So whole belly rests on your thighs. If you'll notice on my legs, that's a very generous bend in my knees that's required to do that. In here with your hands, you have lots of options. You can grab opposite elbows and sway. You can interlace your hands at the base of your skull. I love this because it gives me a little bit more weight to traction the crown of my head closer down toward the earth. You could also choose here to interlace your hands behind your back. And you can leave your thumbs right on your sacrum. You could also squeeze the heels of your hands together and start lifting your knuckles up toward the stars. They may lift up high. Mine don't come very high at all. Either way is okay. And then release your hands down to the earth. Heel toe your feet together. So we're prepping for a halfway lift. Rock the weight into your heels. Inhale, halfway lift. Again, I don't care how straight your legs are. I care how straight your spine is. And I'd like it to be straight. Exhale, forward fold. One more time. Inhale for a halfway lift. Okay, to help and assist for back pain, hands on the thighs. Exhale right here. Inhale, press down into your hands. Sweep your arms up over your head and rise. Exhale, draw your hands into heart center. So we're going to start in force in our Sun Salutation A's now. Inhale, sweep your fingers up over your head. Lift your gaze. Look at your hands. Exhale, hinge into a forward fold. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale, step back into a high push-up position, high plank. Inhale, rock forward on your toes. Shoulders are floating over the wrists now. Exhale, tap your knees down to the earth. So no Army Ranger push-up arms, right? Elbows graze the ribs, come all the way down to your belly. And start with Sphinx as your heart opener. Floating shoulders over your elbows. Press the shoelace parts of your feet down into the earth, maybe enough that the knees lift up. See my knees there? Pull with your elbows in your hands. So muscular engagement, if you'll remember, feels like trying to drag your elbows towards your waist. And rather than firming up the belly, soften. Soften. Create more space between your pubic bone and your sternum. One more breath right here. Inhale. Exhale, lower your heart down to the earth. Bring your hands under your shoulders. Press up to down dog. That may be through tabletop. You may come to tabletop first. That's okay. That's in play. On an inhale, bend your knees. Look forward. Exhale, walk or step to the top edge of your mat. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, press down into your feet. Rise. Come all the way up to standing. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, find a halfway lift. Exhale, high plank. We're going to do a different heart opener this time. Sphinx is always there for you. You can go back to that. Inhale, rock forward on your toes. Exhale, knees up or down. Elbows graze the ribs, lower down to your belly. And this time, hands under the shoulders. Tweeze the elbows in towards your waist. Press the tops of your feet into the earth. Pull with your hands. Peel your heart up off the earth. Easy cobra. Exhale, lower down to the earth. Press up and back to downward facing dog. On an inhale, bend your knees. Look forward. Exhale, move to the top edge of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, root to rise. Come all the way up to standing. Maybe lift your gaze again, or maybe press your hips a little bit forward toward the top edge of your mat. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, find a halfway lift. Exhale, step back into high plank. Inhale in high plank. Exhale, lower down to your belly. Inhale, open your heart, Sphinx or easy cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. On an inhale, bend your knees, look forward. Exhale, walker step to the top edge of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rise. If you chose to press your hips forward, maybe take a little deeper back bend this time around. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, find a halfway lift. Exhale, step back into high plank. Inhale in high plank. Exhale, lower down to your belly. Inhale, open your heart. Good job, guys. Exhale, downward facing dog. Draw in a nice, deep breath. Hold it at the top. On an exhale, open your mouth, let that all go. We're going to start our sun Bs now. On an inhale, bend your knees, look forward. Exhale, move to the top edge of your mat. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, sit back into chair pose, Uttanasana. Again, if your lower back doesn't feel good here, two options. One that we talked about last night, place your hands right on your thighs. That's fine. Or you could also do this up against a wall. Other options are for hands to be at heart center or your fingers to reach for the stars. Now shift your shins regardless. Shift your shins toward the back edge of your mat. Rock the weight into your heels. Super light in the balls of your feet. Maybe all 10 toes lift. Reach down for the earth with your tailbone. Gently draw your belly button towards your sternum. And if your arms are extended up over your head, press the bones in your arms back behind you. Good, guys. Good, 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 good. Inhale. Exhale, release your hands down to the earth. Forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, step back into high plank. All right, inhale, rock forward on your toes. Chaturanga this time. On an exhale, knees up or down. Come halfway down, Chaturanga. And then any heart opener. So a third option I'm going to add here, float your shoulders over your wrist, press the tops of your feet down off the earth. Pubic bone reaches for the earth. Upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. On an inhale breath, reach the heel of your right foot up toward the stars. Turn the toes down to face the mat. So not an open hip, but a closed hip. And press firmly through the heel of the right foot. Lift it a little bit higher. And then on an exhale, step it forward. We're going to Warrior One, Virabadrasana. Now remember, if your foot gets stuck along the way, use that right hand to support it. And then rise up. Maybe, we didn't do this last night, but maybe start with your hands on your hips, squaring your hips toward the top edge of your mat. For me, that means going wider with that left foot. Those left toes are probably at 9 or 10 o'clock. And then your hands can stay on that front thigh, right knee is floating over my right ankle. You could take them to heart center, or your fingers could reach for the stars, biceps frame your ears, and spiral your pinky fingers in toward one another. Now, I mentioned this last night, but hands are alive here. So flex through your fingers. Soften the muscles around your eyes. Soften the quality of your gaze. One more breath. Inhale. Exhale, release your hands down to the earth. Step your right foot back to meet your left. Now, options are you can press directly back into down dog or flow through your own vinyasa, going from a high plank to a low plank. Any heart opener that you prefer, and then we'll meet in downward facing dog. Other side, inhale, lift the left heel skyward. And really reach out, increase the distance, create more space between the tips of your fingers and that left heel. Your next exhale, step that left foot forward. Rise up into Warrior One. Square your hips or your shoulders either to the top edge of your mat or that upper right-hand corner. And then hands on your left thigh, hands at heart center, fingers reach for the stars. But notice if your shoulders shrug up towards your ears, super common, guys, no problem. But visualize ice cubes melting, let your shoulder blades melt down your back. Ground down into all four corners of your left foot, and then press the pinky edge blade of your right foot into the earth a little bit more. Notice how that squares the hips a little more. Inhale. Exhale, release your hands down to the earth. Step back into high plank. If you want to add sensation, lift the leg. Inhale in high plank. Exhale, low plank. Inhale, open your heart. Exhale, downward facing dog. So we're going to go through 3 more rounds of this, a little bit faster now. On an inhale, bend your knees. Look forward. Exhale, walk, step, or float to the top edge of your mat. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, sit back into chair pose, Uttanasana. Open your heart up a little bit more. That may look like lifting your gaze higher. Inhale. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, find a halfway lift. Exhale, step back into high plank. Inhale in high plank. Exhale, halfway down. Inhale, open your heart. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, lift your right heel skyward. Exhale, take as many steps as you need to step it forward. Rise up into your warrior one. Stabilizing as you inhale. As you exhale, release your hands down to the earth. Step back into high plank. And as always, options are down dog, or you can flow through your own vinyasa. High plank, low plank, any heart opener, downward facing dog. Inhale, left heel skyward. Exhale, step it forward. Rise as you inhale. Exhale, release your hands down to the earth. High plank. In down dog, or move through a vinyasa. On an inhale, bend your knees. Look forward. Exhale, walk, step, or float to the top edge of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, sit back into chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, step back into high plank. Inhale in high plank, exhale, low plank. Inhale, open your heart. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, lift that right heel up. Exhale, rise into warrior one. Start with the feet first. You only have one single breath here. So if you have to fix one thing, orient on the feet first and work your way up. Exhale, high plank. And then yogi's choice to take down dog or flow through a vinyasa. Inhale, lift your left heel. Exhale, warrior one. Inhale. Exhale, release your hands down to the earth. Step back to high plank. In down dog or a vinyasa. On an inhale, bend your knees. Look forward. Exhale, move to the top edge of your mat. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, sit back into chair pose. 4 breaths. Rock the weight into your heels again. Yogi's choice on your arms. Lengthen your tailbone down toward the earth again and open your heart up more. Inhale. Exhale, release your seat another 2 inches closer down toward the earth. Good, you guys. Inhale. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale, step back into high plank. And then low plank. Open your heart. I'm working on those R's, Jack. Exhale, press up and back to downward facing dog. I mentioned that to my girlfriend Letty last night, and she could identify with where you guys were coming from. We thought that was hilarious. Inhale, lift your right heel up. Exhale, rising into warrior one. Pressing down into your foundation on your inhale. Exhale, releasing your hands down to the earth, high plank, in down dog or a vinyasa. All right, last side. Inhale, lift your left heel up toward the stars. Exhale, rise into warrior one. Inhale. Exhale, release your hands down to the earth. Find high plank. From high plank, tap your knees down to the earth, and then side saddle your legs off to the side. Using good body mechanics, come onto your back. I'm going to give you a couple of options for the supine twist. Arms are teed out to the side. Last night, if you remember, I just said shift your knees, your hips over to the right. Right, so if you want more sensation, go eagle legs. I'll explain that next week. But wrap your right knee over your left. If that's too much sensation, take a block, place it between your inner thighs. But regardless, release your knees down toward the left. And if you wanted to add a little bit of sensation here, shift your gaze out over the fingers of your right hand. Notice if you've got any kind of muscular engagement that's keeping your knees from getting a little bit lower to the left. Can you just let gravity take over and trust? Trust that where your knees end up is exactly where they're supposed to be. On your next inhale, slowly, gently guide your knees up to center. I've still got the block in between my inner thighs. Shift your hips over to the left. Drop your knees off to the right. Shift your gaze out over the fingers of your left hand. So I mentioned last night I had a total hip replacement on June 2nd. And, you know, I'd worked with a physical therapist who's also a yoga teacher before my procedure. And she helped me understand these are the things that are likely to hurt you. These are the areas that are likely safe. So on day 6 after my hip replacement, I had my yoga mat spread out on the floor and I was practicing. It was with a chair and it was greatly modified. But one of the modifications that helped a lot, I could do a supine twist within 2 weeks of the procedure, but I had to have a bolster or a block between my thighs. Right. On an inhale, lift your knees up to center. If you still got the block, you probably choose to drop the block. And then set up, give yourself a few minutes in a final resting shape. The one that you can do with really simple props is to place your blocks in the medium setting out kind of wide, like full mat width. Tee your arms out to the side. Release your victorious breath. And just let gravity draw all of your connective tissues down toward earth. So I'm not going to stay here with you. I'm going to excuse myself at this point. But stay in this final resting shape as long as you like. You guys have worked really hard for several minutes now. Now's the time to soak up the residual vibrations and sensations from those sun salutations. Great work, friends, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next week.